I used to be a very angry young man.
You are president of Griffins.
Yeah.
You're the guy organizing the parties.
I personally don't care.
Do you still support Trump?
Oh, no.
Went to exchange in Kyrgyzstan.
Gun ownership in the United States. I'm envious of you, you know that.
I think we cannot pass by the politics.
It's a very good question. It's a very good question. It's a very good question. It's a difficult question. It's a very good question. It's a tough question. It's a very good question. It's a very good question. It's a good question.
Our friends from Go Coffee make the best coffee in town. Let's go inside. Hello, Ben.
Morning. How are you?
Great, man. Thank you for coming.
Of course, it's my pleasure. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you. Why not you introduce yourself first to the audience?
For sure. Yeah, so my name is Benjamin Whyman. I'm a senior student here at the American University of Bulgaria, fourth year. Originally, I was born in St. Louis, Missouri, but I grew up on the Oregon coast, and yeah, I've been blessed to live in many places around the world since that time.
Wonderful. You're here right now in Bulgaria. Why so?
You know, it's a very good question. When I was 16, I had the opportunity to go on a Rotary Youth Exchange. And so, you know, I used to be a very angry young man growing up because, you know, when you're young, you're 13 and you move from all your friends, your community and everything, and then you go to a very small town. So I moved from St. Louis, which is a big city, you know, over 1 million people, to a small town on the Oregon coast called Cannon Beach. And there was only about 2,000 people living there, you know, and so it's like you go from a very big pond to a very small body of water. And I just got upset, you know, and so I was looking for a way to get out. And I ended up applying for a Rotary Youth Exchange, and I was blessed to move to the Russian Federation for the year.
Really?
Yeah, from 2019 to 2020.
How old were you?
I was 16 when I went.
16.
Yeah.
Alone?
I did go alone, yeah. So I lived in the city of Yekaterinburg, and I had 3 host families throughout the year, and I went to school, everything over there, and I started learning Russian while I was there. And the opportunity arose for me to actually volunteer to teach English with the U.S. Consulate, which is a subdivision of the embassy, you know, from the U.S. State Department. And so I started volunteering teaching English, and I became friends with a lot of the consulate staff while I was there. And if you're an American who can understand the Cyrillic language, any of the Cyrillic languages, usually they keep you in the same sphere of influence. So I was having a conversation with our consulate general there, and she had been actually to Aubg before. And she had told me, you know, if you're looking for a good alternative to studying outside of the United States for university level, and you like living abroad, you know, she recommended it to me. So I pursued it, and I was accepted, and I've been here for the past 4 years now. But she had told me, you know, she was like, yeah, Bulgaria is a post-Soviet satellite state, which it is. And she's like, a lot of people, you know, are going to be speaking Russian there. So I got off the plane for the first time, and, you know, I walked up to the immigration place in the airport. I showed them my visa. And I said to the man, I said, "Здравствуйте," you know? And he said, "Oh, здравейте." And I went, "Oh, no. And so it was just very funny for me because I realized, you know, I would have to learn again. And I'm very thankful that I've learned Bulgarian, you know, and it's been a wonderful experience for me in this country as well. So many different amazing people, really, and great perspectives and just experiences that, you know, had I actually stayed in a Russian-speaking country or an English-speaking country as a predominant first language, I wouldn't have had them, you know. And so I've been very blessed to develop a lot of amazing relationships here, and at the same time, travel around Europe, you know, and go to many other places as well, because Bulgaria being in the European Union, you know, it's very easy to book a flight on the weekend, leave on a Friday, and come back Sunday to campus.
At this point, how many languages do you speak?
I would say conversationally fluent 3, and then I can get by in about 5.
That's good. Which
Yeah.
are the other 2?
I can get by definitely in Spanish and in German as well, because in the U.S. I've worked in the restaurant industry a lot, and a large percentage of the population in my town in the U.S. is Spanish speaking first.
But you were firm that you want to study outside of U.S., right?
For me personally, I was, yeah, because there's a lot of benefits to being inside the United States, but I don't think that really you can appreciate those benefits unless you've really seen the United States from an outsider's perspective. And that's something that I really learned about during my year in Russia. Just because a lot of people, it's like wearing a mask, or like horse blinders, for example. When the blinders come off and the horse starts to run, and they don't have to run only in a straight line. It was my line for me was like, well, I could just stay in the U.S., but I want to go everywhere. I was swerving, I was moving, and yeah, it was just a wonderful opportunity for me to explain my worldview. Definitely.
How that experience living with different families changed you, you think?
It was so amazing. I mean, first of all three families that I lived with were just so welcoming. They really treated me like one of their own. People ask me all the time, like, well, you moved to Russia at 16, like, why, how was it? And there's still this, especially amongst the older generation, kind of skepticism when talking about generally people from other cultures, but especially the Russian Federation because of the history with the US and the Russian Federation during the Cold War. And so people were like shocked about it, but for me, I tell people I never had a negative experience. I was never ostracized. I never had any negative words thrown my way because I was American. If anything, people were just a lot more interested and welcoming. And actually, I had so many amazing opportunities come up because of the fact of my nationality.
How much did it take you to learn Russian, at least to a certain level?
Yeah, so right now I'm between, I would say low C1 in
Yeah.
Russian. And
Outstanding, man.
thank you. I really appreciate it. I've worked hard on it. Learning Russian was very interesting for me. I was put into the 11th class with students my age initially when I got there. I didn't speak any Russian when I got off the plane. First of all, I could barely say thank you. I could barely say please. I could kind of say hello, and that was it. I couldn't read. I couldn't write anything. And so I actually asked to be placed in the kindergarten classroom because, as you know, but for some people that are probably listening, they don't know, the way that school systems work in the Russian Federation is that students from, first class and 12th class, they all go to the same school.
Yes.
And it's not like that in the US. So for me, that was one thing I was like, well, this is interesting, but I wanted to take advantage of it. So I actually asked to be placed in the first class with first class level students. There were 5, 6. And it was the best decision I made, man, really, because they were all learning to read and write and, pronounce sentences the proper way and basic grammar at the same pace that I was,
Yeah.
So it really laid like the foundation for me to actually develop. And so once I learned to read and write, and I was in that kindergarten classroom every single day throughout the entire year I was in there, except for Sundays. And it really just laid a very strong base for me to develop and kind of build off of after, because then I would leave. And then I would go see my friends who were my age and, back to my host brothers, host
Yeah.
sisters. And so I was getting multiple perspectives at different places.
I had similar experience, but with Bulgarian.
Did you?
The only difference was that I was only 9 and you were already a teenager or almost grown
Yeah,
up.
I'm envious of you, that you got to start at a
Yeah,
young
it was easier for me for sure.
Yeah, definitely. But, I think for me, it's very interesting because I've attempted to learn to speak Bulgarian now as well. But my American brain scrambles up the two languages so
Yeah.
much, and they are different. But at the same time, for me, as a native English speaker and not a native of Bulgarian or Russian, I draw so many more similarities than I think a lot of other people do because I learned Russian first. Yeah.
What's the most interesting cultural shock you experienced coming to Russia and then maybe coming to Bulgaria?
It's a very good question. From the States, I learned that the perception of Americans is different than Americans perceive themselves. For instance, small talk, or smiling at somebody on the street. It doesn't really exist in the Russian Federation in the same way that it does in the US. Just because people can perceive it actually as somewhat rude, and not rude, but ingenuine, I think is a better word. Because in the States, it's like you walk in a coffee shop, they greet you, hello, how are you doing today? Oh, I'm fine. It's the standard procedure.
Yes.
Does anybody actually really care? You can make the argument that maybe they do. But over there, we kind of just skip all that, at least in my experience, which I enjoy.
And you prefer that better?
I think for me, I have elements of both that I really appreciate. But one thing that I did appreciate a lot more in the Russian Federation is that actually once you broke through that barrier of initial relationships with somebody, it was a lot more genuine, because when you're talking to them and they're actually actively speaking with you, you know that they actually care and that they have respect for you in a lot more of a sense. So it's not as, I don't want to say superficial, but it's not as maybe forced sometimes.
We've been talking about Russian Federation, European Union, you mentioned it, and I think we cannot pass by the politics. I know you're a guy who is outright about it.
Yep.
What's your position on the actions by Russian federations in the last few years?
Specifically with Ukraine or in
Yes.
Syria or Ukraine specifically?
Ukraine specifically.
To me, it's a difficult question because really at the heart of it, one thing that I've learned through my travels, I've been to over 40 countries as well, and so I've met a lot of people from very different perspectives, very different cultures, and I haven't just met, I've lived with these people, and so I've gotten to see a lot of different perspectives, specifically relating to the Russian invasion of Ukraine in 2022. There's a lot of different perspectives that one can look at when discussing it. For me personally, though, I really believe in humanity, and I think it's sad that people are dying, both Russians and Ukrainians. And the politics of it, I think, it's just sad because I want to see it come to an end, because I have friends actually fighting on both sides of the conflict. I know people personally that are there, and I could be on the phone with them today and they could be gone tomorrow, is the type of situation that we're in right now. So the politics of it, really, I want to see peace. I want to see good diplomacy practiced, and I want to see people come together rather than continue fighting.
I agree with you, although that was probably the most diplomatic answer I could ever hear, ever man. But it's all right. You're not forced to say it. I know, and it's not a secret, especially when we had elections in the States. You came with a pro-Trump hat, Make America Great Again. Can you tell more about it? Do you still support Trump?
Yeah, so Trump's actions, I don't know who's following geopolitics. I don't know how much people are involved. For me personally, I actually was not able to vote in this previous election because I had to get an absentee ballot. And the way that it works in the US is that every state has different ways of doing that. So for me, being registered to vote in Oregon, I had to request one to be sent in the mail. It ended up not showing up in time, so I didn't get to vote. I have worn a MAGA hat in the past, and I feel like there are things that I really do value about what his administration is attempting to do, but also there are things I do disagree with. And that's the beauty of being from the US, is that you are allowed to disagree and you're allowed to appreciate other things. And people are not supposed to be able to tell you what to think. You're not allowed to be persecuted because of it. You can't be arrested, or you shouldn't be arrested because of it.
Do you think it's the same in Russia?
It's a tough question. Honestly, I think there are elements of democracy within the Russian Federation, definitely. But at the same time, there are things that do need to be worked on, I would say. And that was something that I experienced with a lot of my friends and personal relations that I developed over there, is that people aren't really going to talk about it out on the street or, wherever, at dinner, restaurants. But in private, they're more willing to talk about things. So in Russia specifically, I think generally a lot of the population they watch. They are very keen to what is happening, at least those that we would consider to be outside of the general sphere of influence, we could say, of media propagation, just the same as it is within the United States. If people are actively searching for answers, historical sources, things of that manner, I think change is possible, but it starts at the rudimentary level of people actually wanting that to occur and actually believing that that can occur, and also having an environment where it is possible for change to actually occur. So, yeah.
What's one political or social opinion you have that is controversial and that you would defend no matter what?
It's a very good question. It's a good question. I have to ask you back, though, controversial from whose point of view?
I would say public, generally what is perceived.
Like the
Maybe-
American public, the European public, Russian public?
It's hard to say, man. Whatever you choose, right? Whatever you perceive as could be perceived as controversial.
Yeah, I would say the ability to possess freedom of speech is something that is very important to me, but
That's
also
not controversial, man.
it is, and I'll tell you why. Because freedom of speech also entails freedom of consequence as well. That's the controversial part. Because anybody, sure, at least in the American context, you can say anything you want. But if you're making death threats or something like that, or you're a Nazi, it's not okay. And I mean, it's not okay from my perspective, maybe, but for somebody else, it's their true beliefs internally. And so I could say that. I could talk about gun ownership in the United States as well,
Yeah,
if you would like.
Briefly, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's another thing that people would find controversial, but it is the Second Amendment. It's the right to bear arms in the United States and to formulate a militia if need be. And that's something that it's not uniquely American, but actually, I don't know if you know this, there's more guns in the United States than there actually is citizens per capita.
Really?
Yeah, there's more guns than there is people in the U.S., which is pretty crazy when you think about it, because we're a country of around 360 million or so.
Counting the babies, the elderly.
Everybody.
Wow.
Yeah, and so gun rights are a big thing. I do believe in the right to bear arms, most definitely, but at the same time, I do believe in responsible gun ownership. And I think that's something very difficult for a lot of people who have not really lived amongst Americans to understand, because a lot of countries don't express or hold that right, within their constitutions. So that's definitely something very interesting that, we could discuss more at a later point if you would like.
In the private conversation, you mentioned that you are planning to return to the States after you graduate here.
I'm hoping to, yes. So I'm applying to my master's program right now. I actually have an interview on Friday.
Yes.
And I'm planning to pursue, it's at the University of Georgetown. And it's called the Series Program. It's part of the Welsh School of Foreign Service. And it's a master's degree in Eurasian, Eastern European, and Russian studies. So it's everything. It's cultural, it's economics, it's politics, it's linguistics as
Yes.
well. And so, yeah, I'm hoping and I'm praying that door opens itself, and I believe if it does, and I've been equipped with the skills to actually step into it and hopefully do something very good.
Absolutely, man. Keep going. We wish you luck.
Thank you.
Let's talk more about Aubg.
Sure.
How would you describe Aubg in general?
For me, it's been amazing, really. I mean, it's just been such a wonderful opportunity because of the people that I've gotten to meet. At the same time, my experience is probably different than a lot of international students. Because
How so?
I'll tell you, yeah, it's interesting. I think I've chosen to learn how to speak Bulgarian, and that's allowed me to integrate with Bulgarians a lot better than I would say a lot of the other international students. As you know, I'm a president of a club on campus
Yes,
as well.
we'll talk about that as well.
Yeah, and so it's a decision that I've chosen to make to actively try to really get to know Bulgarians while I've been here. And I think that's not the case for a lot of international students. And so I hope that future international students will come and actually will actively try to really get to know Bulgarians a lot better. Because it's easier to be with international students as an international student, but also we are the minority on campus,
Outside of the comfort zone, right?
Exactly, yeah. And I really believe in pushing your boundaries and trying to especially connect with the local population as much as possible.
I would say you're even more connected than some Bulgarians, more integrated.
Some ways, yeah, possibly, yeah, it's true.
I think we forgot to mention your majors, but it's more or less obvious at this point, I think.
Yeah, so I'm a double major in political science and European studies.
Yeah, are you content with the academics here?
Actually I am. Yeah, I really am. I think the professors that are here in the political science and European studies department, they really do care.
A quick top three?
Quick top three.
Not only in the department, but in general.
Yeah, I'm very thankful for all of them. If I had to go quick top three though, I'm going to, in no particular order, but I'm going to say Professor Crambois from Belgium. He's a European studies professor. I would say Professor Levine, political science professor. And then, man, there's so many great ones, genuinely. There's a lot of the professors that I've taken, I've really enjoyed my time with. One who's on sabbatical right now, he's an American from the US, Professor Cohen. And he teaches, English, but like creative writing and
Film, I think. No?
I think film as well. I took creative writing with him, and I do not enjoy writing whatsoever. If you sit me down and you tell me to write something, I'm going to be like, no. But with him, I learned to really enjoy it, and he's from the same region that I am from in the U.S. now. He's returning, I think, in the fall. He's been on sabbatical.
Yeah. More about Aubg. I've heard a lot about what Aubg was before I came here. A lot about from the seniors, from you as well, that Aubg has changed. In what ways?
It's a very good question, and it's a hot topic right now. There has been a decrease in the number of international students who have been enrolling here. And at the same time, I feel like the general feelings of a community on campus, the attitude of that has changed. Because honestly, speaking brutally honestly, I think this year has been kind of the most toxic year, I would say, online, that the community has experienced.
Because of the anonymous pages?
I would say so, honestly, yeah. And while personally, I mean, my name's popped up on there multiple times, so is yours, I personally don't care because I know what I have going on and I know what I believe in. So other people's opinions that I don't want to validate, I don't have to validate, they don't really matter to me. But for younger people, especially freshmen, sophomores coming in who may not feel very comfortable or have a good friend group yet, and they're constantly just reading these things online, man, about so-and-so did this or so-and-so is like this, or I don't like the way something looks on somebody. It just creates a very negative experience, I feel like, for some people, because if you're not prone to social media manipulation and kind of feelings of just discontent amongst people that would rather say something behind a screen rather than talk in person, even just reading those things, even if you don't think it's affecting your subconscious, it is 1,000%, because it creates this feeling of just like a dark cloud sometimes, I would say, over some people. So I think it's created a lot of division. If you're not able to just get a laugh out of it and kind of move on with your day, some people take it very seriously. So
unfortunately, yes.
Yeah.
In my opinion, one of the things you're known of around the campus is firstly you're president of Griffins.
Yeah.
And secondly, you're the guy organizing the parties. In billion and under?
Yeah. Yeah. It's true. It's true.
Let's talk about Griffins first.
Sure. Yeah. I do a bit of both, So I played American football in the United States for 8 years when I was growing up, from a young age, right up until I left to move to the Russian Federation. And man, Griffins, for me, it was just such an amazing opportunity because I got off the plane, I came here, I went to the club fair my first week. I saw guys throwing around an American football, not kicking the real football, which I've come to call football now. And it was just crazy for me because I never expected to see something like that. So Griffins has been an amazing experience for me. And when I initially got here my freshman year, it was only 10-ish people, the majority, 7 guys and a couple girls helping out with logistics and stuff. And this past year, our membership was over 45.
Wow.
So
and you grew it?
I can't take 100% of the credit. There has been some very wonderful people who have done great things before me. But
you're the president like this year?
I'm the president this year, yeah.
Okay.
But I've been coaching the program and the players department specifically for the past 4 years. So I've been very involved with the club. It's got a very special place in my heart, and it's been, an amazing experience because I get to teach everybody. I've gotten to coach players from over 20 different countries actually who have come through Aubg. And I get to show them something that I love that's very close to my heart from my culture, and not only show them that, but they're excited about it, and they want to learn, and it's a beautiful thing to experience, really.
What about the parties?
Parties has been, it's been interesting. So I established my own firm actually in January. Shout out Emblema 2025. I'll do some self-promotion. Yeah, and that was something that initially I started thinking about because of Griffins actually. One thing that happened when I first arrived is that we had equipment, like helmets, shoulder pads, stuff like that, but it was all like 20 years old. And we're not allowed to use the funding that we get from our Aubg budget to actually purchase American football equipment.
And
Meaning,
that's crazy, man. When you told me, I couldn't believe it.
yeah, and you know, it's something that I've had multiple discussions with the administration about. I don't think it's ever going to change, and honestly, it's okay with me at this point because the club and myself, I've found other ways with my team to generate money from outside sources of Aubg to actually purchase equipment, and we own it. You know, the club owns it, not the university owns it, and so it's good. It's ours, you know, and it's here for whoever needs it. And so through fundraising, initially, that's kind of where it began with the parties, actually. It's because we started to develop contracts with these clubs. They wanted a way to reach Aubg students on certain nights of the week. We have a connection with many people in the university. You know, people are familiar with us and our work from the American football side of things. But then if we can get those same people to come out and enjoy a discoteca once a month, something like that, we get paid for it. And in turn, I can use that money to buy football equipment and get my players better protective equipment. And the reason that the university doesn't want us using the budget that they allocate to us is because of liability issues, which I'm not going to argue with them. You know, it's a decision that they've made. Liability to me, though, you know, you're less likely to get injured if you have up-to-date equipment.
Absolutely, it's logical.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's why it's fine. I stepped back out of that, and I also reached out to a lot of my personal contacts in the United States. I just told them what I was doing, guys that I've grown up playing football with, old coaches, my high school, personal sponsors, you could say, in a sense. And yeah, people were very generous. So now we have full equipment for up to 16 guys, pants, helmets, shoulder pads, everything. And it's all pretty much brand new within the past 3 years. So it's been very interesting. But yeah, the parties, you know, I started looking into it because of the fact that the Griffins is supposed to be an American football program first. It's not a party club. You know, it shouldn't be a party club first. It's about the sport. It's about building community based off the sport. But they started to do very good. You know, I mean, they started to become very successful. A lot of people would show up, and people were always asking for more. And they were asking for new types of events and new things. And so that's why I decided to open up Emblema because I DJ as well. It's just something I've picked up over the past couple of years. And I go to a lot of events in Sofia. And whenever I'm traveling in Europe or anywhere else, I'm always looking for music events to go to. And so I've made a lot of very good personal contacts with people in the Bulgarian music scene, people, you know, internationally as well. And I think I really have a unique music perspective to bring because it's not just the same stuff all the time. People want something fresh and want something new. The international students want something new. The Bulgarians want something new. Everybody has things that they want, right? And if I can provide that by taking the party aspect in some regards out of Griffins, I started my own firm, and now I get to do that, and I get to DJ that, and I'm my own boss in there. I don't have to, you know, speak with anybody about what I want to do. I just go do it, you know. So it's been good. So that's what Emblema is about. It's about bringing people together. It's a collective community, I would say. And yeah, I'm excited for future development in there as well. Definitely.
Excellent, man. Just excellent. We wish you all luck again.
I appreciate you as well.
You mentioned several times during the interview that you went to exchange in Kyrgyzstan. Could you describe that experience in several sentences? And would you advise to go exchange for our students?
Firstly, 1000%. Go on exchange. If you have the GPA, I would recommend exchange literally anybody because...
What are the requirements for GPA?
I believe you have to have a 3.0 to apply. And just because you apply doesn't mean that you're going to be accepted. You know, it is a competitive process. Some semesters more than others based on the number of students.
Approximately 6 as far as I know. 5, 6, 7.
I think it differs. No, I think it's more because there's a lot of different programs.
Maybe it's only for one university I'm talking about.
Yeah. So there's Rasmus, and then I went on what was Osun, the Open Society University Network. But with the combination of Rasmus and Osun, I mean, there's multiple universities everywhere. And so really, they'll take students as long as one of their students is willing to come here as well, is at least my understanding of it. So
Kyrgyzstan?
Kyrgyzstan was phenomenal.
Why there, man?
I needed to practice my Russian, you know. I needed to practice my Russian, and that was one that I did know people actually spoke Russian there, you know.
This time, yes. Yeah.
This time, yes, and also demographically, I wanted to live in a predominantly Muslim society as well at some point in my life. Also, I never really spent time in Central Asia or the broader region of Asia. More specifically, I hadn't really ever been over there, but Central Asia specifically, at least from the U.S. point of view, and I would argue a lot of other places, it's a very forgotten region in many ways. When people talk about traveling or visiting places, not many people, are going to go to Central Asia. So it was just fascinating for me, and really the opportunity was there. And I decided that I wanted to give it a shot, similar to what I did in high school. And it was funny for me, really, because it was like, I kind of feel like an exchange student these 4 years in Bulgaria, and then I went on exchange from exchange, technically, So it's, it's multifaceted spectrum of different exchange. The bulamach, is a word in Bulgarian, like a big pot of soup that you're just throwing things into, and yeah, it's very interesting to me. So it was fascinating.
What advice, as you're a senior, what advice would you give to current students, freshmen, maybe students who are yet to apply to Aubg?
Yeah, that's a very good question. That's a very good question. I would say humility and respect are two of the biggest things that one should have and one should constantly be practicing. And also generosity. I think here and in many places that I've been, if people see that you're genuinely trying to learn and that you're not hostile or you're not aggressive, and this applies to Aubg, but also the broader region, spectrum, world, whatever you want to call it, and you're also giving back to people and you're actively giving back and you're trying to connect with people, your experience is going to be a lot better. I would say don't complain. If you don't like something, figure it out, but an issue that I have with some people who are in the Aubg community actually is that people complain about Bulgarians, and to me it's interesting because I'm a guest here, you're a guest here, I mean, we're, as international students, it's not our country first, we really have to be respectful, and I believe that it goes a long way. And the reason that I feel like I've developed the relationships I have and I've had the success with my business and with Griffins and everything that I have is because people can see that I'm trying my best, but I'm trying my best to understand their point of view first and foremost before my own, so. That's what I would say to prospective students and especially young students in Aubg is be open-minded, but not in the general sense of the word. Just be open-minded with yourself first. Really take a good long look at yourself and think about how you want people to perceive you. Not maybe always it's going to happen that way in the best way, because fake kindness from the American, oh my goodness, but just really be willing to humble yourself, and swallow your pride a lot of the times. Hold your tongue, be kind, really, is what I would say, because it goes a long way. It really goes a long way.
Very thoughtful to us, man. Thoughtful.
I appreciate it. Yeah.
How old are you right now?
I'm 22 right now.
22. What would you say to your future self? Let's say when you're 80. God bless you, live to 80, man.
Yeah, thank you. You as well. You as
Thank
well.
you, man.
I hope so. When I'm 80.
Yeah. Or 70.
Oh, 70.
On the road, basically.
Yeah. I want to be able to tell myself that I tried my best, I think, and that I made people feel better about themselves, and especially people that I work with internationally in the future, one day, God willing, that I did something positive, and I want to be able to tell myself that I gave it my best try, I think, and I pray to God that that happens, really. It's, we don't really know what's going to happen. We could get hit by a car after I walk out of this interview, I mean, things happen, and it's very sad and it's very unfortunate, but it's reality. We all have our time and place eventually one day, and I think just being thankful for the moments that we do have and the little things really goes a long way.
Excellent, man.
Yeah.
I want to thank you for the interview. Thank you again for coming and
Thank you for having
conversation,
me.
man.
Thank you for having me, really, and I appreciate the work that you're doing as well. I hope that you continue on your journey, and it's good. It's good. Don't let the comments or whatever, don't let the people say anything about it. And I know that you're not going to, because you're very good with what you do, and it's a pleasure. And I really have a lot of respect for what you're trying to do.
I appreciate it, man.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.